Welcome, students, as we prepare for another episode of DC Graduates. I'm one of your teachers, your doctor recommended dose of nerdiness, aka your nerd today, Carlos Rodriguez. And as always, I am joined by my teacher in crime, Sly. Sly, how are you?
Losing my marbles a little bit, but I'm here.
That's all that matters, man. That's all that matters.
Yeah. You
It's
know
not
who
like
also is losing their marbles?
John Constantine.
Fucking Constantine and every single thing he's appeared in on the
Absolutely.
show.
He is a screw loose. And of course, today we are talking about Constantine, City of Demons 2018 release. This is my first time watching it. We both
hmm
watched the film version of this because I believe it was a streaming series on CW Seed originally. If I didn't even look this up. I'm just like, this
yeah,
is like
technically
my brain
they were
started
like
doing.
6 minute episodes. It wasn't like it was. Yeah, we watched Constantine colon City of Demons dash the movie.
Yes, that's exactly what we watched. That's what we're discussing today. Yeah, I've never seen it. Was this your first time watching it too, Sly?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Again, I like started watching it. I was like, wait, is this the CW thing that they did? And then it all came back to me. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. I was like, man, I forgot about CW Seed, man. What a weird app. There's so many random
Existed for
weird
like
shows.
3 years or
I
whatever.
in like a long time. Every time like I would watch Supernatural, I'm like, don't forget more content on CW Seed. I'm like, I keep forgetting you're a thing. And I think they had like exclusive series on there. I think there was one about like with Brendan Routh about like I don't know, two friends that like were friends with this girl and they both happen to be gay. I think they fell in love. I don't even know. I don't know.
All
It
I
looked
know is
funny.
every time I tried to find anything on CW Seed, it like no longer existed. Like
Right, like
they
it's
were
just
taking
gone.
shit
Yeah.
down left and right. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't it no longer exists. There's nothing. There's no longer anything when it comes to the CWC. Is there even anything you can watch on here? Here's me going through it like there's gotta be something, right? No, I don't think so. I also do love there's this thing. Let's talk about CW for a moment because this is a short movie, so we can go off topic for a minute. One of my favorite things about CW, of course, their reliance on the Arrowverse for so long and so many live action shows. Now, no longer a thing. If it's not some kind of weird sport, um, like Saudi Arabia backed golf, it's a show from Canada that has been repurposed for American television, and it's in Canada is in season like 5. And in America, it's like season 2 for some reason. Because I just saw here Family Law starring A1 Jules State, one of my first crushes from Firefly, Serenity, and Victor Garber, who is an Arrowverse alum. And there's like just random Penn and Teller have a show. Why? Scrabble has a show. There's a show called Sherlock and Daughter. There we go.
Yeah. That's on my spreadsheet of my like network TV master list that we have for um served up Sundays. I
And
remember putting that on there.
if I'm right, there's a show called Sullivan's Crossing. I don't know if this is still a
hmm
thing. Oh yeah, season 3 I guess
Yep,
is
it's
on.
still airing
Yeah, and it's
this
Chad Michael Murray,
season.
sexy ass, and sexy ass Luke from Gilmore Girls. Which
Hmm.
my not old, but like older millennial ass doesn't know which one's hotter now that they're both old. Is Chad Michael Murray hotter or the guy who played Luke from Gilmore Girls hotter? Having a real hard time. Should not have done that hand motion when I talk about two men. Just, just realized that one. And then of course, wrestling's on there, which is nice since you're starting to get into wrestling, and NXT is pretty good. But yeah, CWC, what a weird fucking branch of the CW and CW in general now. It's just fucking weird. It's not what it used to be, man. I feel like an old man when I say that. But anyway, moving on again. Constantine City of Demons 2018, directed by Doug Murphy, written by J.M. Demetis. Studio is always WB Animation. Stars Matt Ryan, the incredible Laura Bailey, Rachel Kimsey, Emily O'Brien, and Damian O'Hare. Where's the streaming, Sly? You know anywhere?
Oh, not even our usual place for when it's not on anything accessible.
No, this one was a
I
hard
had
one.
to go back to some classics.
Yeah,
I found it eventually, but I had to try out a couple different sources before I got
I
to
did.
one
For
that
for
had it.
for our notes for from now on, when we cannot find it and you must go and search the seven seas, your destination is for now on. The joke is going to be Laugh Tale. If you know, you know. Comment down below if you know what I'm talking about. Laugh Tale
I do
is where
not.
you can find this. It's not a real place. Don't worry about it. It's a joke from another
I'm
anime.
assuming it's a One Piece joke
It
because
is
you
a One
keep
Piece
making
joke.
One Piece jokes
Yep.
every single time. The only thing I know about One Piece is Join the Party campaign 3 was like vaguely based off of like inspired by One Piece.
Did they have
And
devil
that's
fruits
my
and stuff?
literal only point of reference. What do you say?
I said, did they have like powers and stuff?
It was the D&D campaign, but they were using Mage Hand Press's classes and shit,
Ah, okay.
and they were like plant and bug folk in a like pirates campaign.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. I was like trying to think about it. I was like,
That's
oh,
it. That's
okay.
all I know.
All right. So moving on. We hit us with the plot recap for this.
All right. This one's just depressing.
It really is.
A decade after a tragic mistake, Chaz Chandler, an occult investigator, that's a strong word for what he does, John Constantine set out to cure Chaz's daughter Trish from a demonically induced coma. With the help of the mysterious nightmare nurse, that's a word for her, the influential Queen of Angels, and the brutal Aztec god. Oh, I don't remember how to pronounce this. Help me out, my dude.
It was like Michelanthu Cthulhu?
You're the one who can hear when they say it.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, to be fair, I watched this like a week ago.
Anyways, a brutal Aztec god whose name starts with an M. They just might have the chance to outsmart the demon Barul and save Trisha's soul.
Yep, that's it.
Mictolataku?
Shooty, maybe?
Well, I don't know. I'm dyslexic, and I had no idea what they were saying every time they said his name.
Yeah, it was
But he
definitely
was
what
cool though.
I
I
heard
was
it a
rooting
couple
for
times and I
him.
was like, what did you say? Say it again. I like rewound it like quite a few times. Um but yeah, that's who that's who we had. That's the plot recap. Moving on, hit us with those comic book characters.
Ugh, my beloved John Constantine. My newly beloved Chaz Chandler.
Fucking love Chaz, man.
Loved him. He was great. Renee Chandler and the Nightmare Nurse. Now, can we talk about it? Which came first? The Night
Ooh,
Nurse or the Nightmare Nurse?
I believe the Night Nurse. I believe
Okay.
Claire, the Night Nurse, came before, comic book wise at least. I believe came in before the Nightmare Nurse. I would go out on a limb and say
Because
that.
so many times we get these names and they're like so interreferential, and I'm always like, who's stealing from who? Who's like poking fun at who? I love that shit. Like when fucking Shazam had to get renamed because Marvel threw a hissy fit.
Oh my god, yeah. It's always been a thing, and like they really ramped it up. Like, you making a movie? Nah, fuck no. You're not doing that now. Um,
Yeah,
oh yeah, so yeah, 100% Night Nurse Claire from Marvel Comics was way created way before. Nightmare Nurse first
I love
appeared
Claire.
in July 2013, The Phantom Stranger, Volume 4, number 8. Again, don't forget in that series, you find out he was Judas Iscariot. Never forget the new 52 is
Fucking
weird as fuck.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Um it's an interesting one. This is you hinted at it, when we were earlier. This is a very depressing movie.
Mhm.
Spoilers for some of my thoughts. I liked it. It's just when you focus on not just the occult, but when you focus on John Constantine's side with nobody else around him, you're gonna get a depressing movie. And like there could be some hope, and this has as close to a happy ending that this movie could possibly get with the stakes the way they are.
Theoretically.
Yeah. But unlike Justice League Dark, you don't have Batman, you don't have Zatanna, you don't have Deadman, to kind of give you a little
I miss
levity.
Zatanna so much.
She's
Z
so needed in
girl, where
this.
were you?
They're probably on one of their breaks, their many breaks, because she's again smart when she breaks up with him. Uh,
Mhm.
but this really is a great character study in John Constantine specifically and what he's been privy to, his arrogance, his you know need to not let go as well, and his slightly heroic nature. There is a hero in there. He is very deep under alcohol, sex, drugs, probably rock and roll. Like there's something there, and it kind of shines through every once in a while. And when you're given only John to focus on, this is one where you see it a little more than the others. I do find it interesting. Again, we talked about this, when we talked about Justice League Dark. Matt Ryan at this point is the definitive John Constantine, whether it be, live action, animated, anything of that nature, because partially because he's given the most screen time, whether it be these DC animated movies, whether it be Legends of Tomorrow, his own, solo NBC series. Um, his little end cap that we covered as one of the bonus episodes before the season started. He's given the most time, and he does a really good job of just bringing out like the bastard nature, that is John Constantine, more so than Keanu Reeves. Like for Keanu's John, we mentioned this before, you can root for him a little bit. Like he's just surly. Like I feel that that's
Mhm.
Keanu's Constantine is just surly. Like he's just an ass, but like not like a piece of shit. Like Matt Ryan's John Constantine is what you read about in comic books. He's a piece of shit, but he's like the only one who could do what he does. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty magic. Again, in this situation, I understand why Chaz went to Constantine. He should have gone to Zatanna. If he only knew Zatanna, that's the better choice. If he only knew like anybody else that knew magic, probably a better choice than John Constantine. But he's just so gross and messy, and he is like so seedy. He feels unlike anything in the DC universe, and I think that's again around this time we're talking about New 52 trying to make magic a big thing, and they still to this day are trying to make magic a big thing within the DC universe, but focusing on a lot of those Vertigo characters and kind of bringing them like, hey, listen, they started off as DC characters. Let's bring them back into the fold. Let's focus on what is DC and what sets us aside. What is, it is these gods and monsters. To take a quote of what Phase 1 of James Gunn's, DC universe is going to be now. It is these gods and monsters, these Supermans, these Wonder Womans, these Batmans, juxtaposed to Swamp Thing, Zatanna, Nightmare Nurse, John Constantine. You see the bright and the dark and everything in between. Etrigan. You see all these awesome characters, and they all mean something to the DC universe in their different corners. But John is just so specially gross. And I wanted to name this section for the Andrea Romano Roundup because this is pretty much one of the last times we'll cover him like as a main character. He's a
Thank
big
God.
player, in the finale, but and what he does, for the Tomorrowverse as well. But this is kind of like his first like last outing as like quote unquote the main star of a film or anything like that. I named this the
The
Plato John.
titular
Yeah,
character.
the titular character. Good. Yeah, that's a great way to name it. Yeah. I named this the Plato John Constantine, a bastard through and through. So you've made it known over 3 episodes already how much you love John Constantine.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What did this movie do to
Um
force that love?
My first note. Okay, my third note. Because the
Yes.
first time I started playing this, again, on a very legal website,
Mm.
it was in French. And I was like, is it supposed to be? I don't know. And then we got far enough into the scene where I went, so I fixed it. I got it in English. I watched it in English. It was all fine. Uh, my very first note was I understand why they leaned so heavily into Constantine, especially at this time. Like, what he meant as a character in this cultural consciences. I get why they lean so heavily into him, especially in the dcamu. But I simply can't give a single fuck about this pathetic, mediocre white guy. I don't care about him. There's like nothing that makes him compelling to me personally.
Yeah.
Literally nothing about him I can connect to, I can relate to, I can feel seen by, I can be inspired by. Like, he's just a mopey, pathetic loser. And that doesn't make a compelling character. I'm not rooting for him at all. I'm rooting for Chaz. I'm
Yes.
rooting for like the Chandler family. I'm rooting for the Nightmare Nurse. I'm rooting for the Queen of Angels. Again, the Aztec god. I'm rooting for him. At no point was I rooting for the titular character. And that's why I have such a problem with, again, how much we've seen of Constantine already. And the fact that they just keep leaning into this character because you're I don't know who this is supposed to be for because like if your target audience is, I hate to say it, pathetic white guys, you've already got them. You've got them, bud. Like they're already here. They're showing up. They're watching comic book media, right?
Mm.
Why is that who we're pandering towards with three titular movies so far? Give me somebody I can root for. Give me somebody interesting. Somebody who's doing something more compelling than chain smoking and binge drinking and fucking his way around the world. That none of that appeals to
Mm.
me.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting because you've never seen the Keanu Reeves film, right?
No.
I think it'd be interesting to watch that. I know, of course, you're probably Constantine out at this point, but as I mentioned, that version of Constantine of John Constantine, although not comic accurate, not a blonde, not British, doesn't look like Sting from the Police at the time, um, you know, didn't come from maybe he came from rock band, who knows? He is surly and like
Mm-hmm.
an asshole in that sense, but like he will still take the case. He will still try to help, and is almost like his trickster way. Like you can tell he's had a past, he's fucked up before, but he is really trying to make amends for that one time. And he is, in that movie, spoilers for a movie that came out like fucking 2005, 2004. They deal with a lot. They
Over
hit
20 years ago.
exactly, yeah. He has cancer, so he knows his time is
Mm,
up too. So like he is extra surly, to
yeah.
say, and he initially like, nah, I'm not gonna take this case. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. And then he gets a little push from a priest to be like, yo, you should really help out. And he like, all right, that Constantine is someone you could root for. He is a little more
Mm-hmm.
heroic, even though again, a little bit of a dick, but he's surly. Again, not you when you find out more about this Constantine, one who's at the end of his rope, who's tried everything he can to get out of hell. He's on a one-way ticket to hell, and he's basically like a cop going to prison. He put so many of these goddamn demons back in hell and has done so many horrible things. The second he goes in hell, he's fucked. Like he is so fucked when he walks into hell. And it's like a lifetime of torture, from everything he's done to these demons. It is interesting to see that character kind of wrap around the mortality that he has. This Constantine, when played with mortality, sinks into himself. We saw
Yeah.
that at the end of his rope, at the end of his storyline in
Mhm.
this series, in the kind of time that takes place between this and Tomorrowverse, where he is punished and gifted with something very, hey, you did something you're not supposed to do. I, the Judeo-Christian God is like, hey, you defied me yet again, but for a good cause. So I'm gonna punish you by not putting you back on Earth, not resurrecting you, not doing all this shit. But you get to live your life out in this like little pocket dimension for yourself. And what does he do? He consistently gets killed because he cannot live with his own demons. But he
Mhm.
confronts it in a weird, like in a very interesting and weird way, you know? Like there is a sadness that comes there. And when you see everything build up, it just doesn't, I don't want to say feel earned, but I think with this movie, and again, these performances beforehand, Matt Ryan is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Mhm.
His portrayal feels like something out of those Vertigo comic books where there is something to root for there. He is a bastard, but there is something to root for in there. And it's only coming specifically through performance because the storylines we've been given in the DCAMU, he's just a dick. Like at every
Yeah,
turn
and
in
for
this, I'm like,
for the record,
yeah,
like before we got to these movies, I was like fairly neutral positive about this character. In Legends of Tomorrow, he was a fine, like he showed up for like an arc and did his thing and he was the side character and that was fun. Whatever. When he shows up in like when we're doing like all cast era Jason Todd fan fiction, Constantine often shows up. And that's always like kind of fun. But when you're putting me in his head so much over the course of this season, I guess past two seasons or whatever,
mm-hmm.
um, and the way he's portrayed in the animated movies, like you said it, the writing is he's just a fucking bastard. I can't stand him. There's nothing to engage with there.
No, and it doesn't feel like at every turn, especially with this movie, like I had to constantly remind myself, hey, Chaz is his oldest friend. He is going to help him. But even when he looks like he's helping Belial, even when he's helping, like, when he's going to look like he's just going to betray him and everything. At a given point, I'm
Mhm.
like, is this Constantine, is this serving Constantine's ends or is this serving Trish's and Chaz's end? What is the
Mhm.
middle ground here? Like, what is he getting? Is he getting something out of this? And at every turn during this film, I felt worried that he was just gonna do something to like just fuck over Chaz. And I shouldn't feel that way, right?
Mhm.
He's our protagonist, he's our hero.
Right.
This He does some shit in this movie that are very shady, very seedy toward these demons. The Aztec god that we see, he sets him up and then kills him immediately, all this other stuff. And it fits an end that we get. And at no point do you see where he came from plan A to plan Z, that we get to the end. Spoilers
Mhm.
for the ending. He makes Chaz give up like the one he's like, are you willing to risk everything? In my head, I was like,
Mhm.
if you're gonna kill Chaz, like, are you gonna kill Chaz?
Think killing Chaz would have been
Way better than what he
a
does.
mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I get the idea of sacrifice being necessary for
This.
magic,
Yeah.
but
And heavy magic like this too.
literally destroying somebody's life, like shattering their sense of self
Mm-hmm.
and like taking away everything that matters to him, that's not mercy. That's cruel. That's
Yeah.
like it's straight up diabolical. And like the fact that he did it for a good cause doesn't make me feel okay about it.
No.
Like I would have preferred you kill him off. Like this. a sacrifice of love, this you being able to not make the selfish choice, give up the life of your best friend, your oldest friend, because you know it's what he wants and will make his like help save his family.
Yeah, I think Chaz
That
is
would have
even
been a
okay with him
mercy.
dying. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's what
Chess
he was
had
under the
accepted it.
assumption. Yeah, I think he was under the impression like, hey, I'm gonna die doing. I don't have powers. I'm not adept with magic. I know of the world, but
And yeah, and to completely sever his family's love for him and like his and John's entire relationship, like that fundamentally like changed who he is as a person. That's not a human being with like a soul and memories. It's like a walking shell of a visage of what used to be your oldest friend.
yeah.
And that seems fucking insane. Like, why was that the choice, John? You had so many other options.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like he exhausted them all. You know, they do establish
Right.
early
Yeah.
on like Chaz is willing to do anything. And
Yeah.
Constantine does take the time to be like, are you willing to risk everything? Because that might be a thing we have to cross the line. So they establish early there is a boundary, and Constantine's willing to be like,
Mhm.
hey, I need you to sign off all this now before shit gets real. Because if it comes to that and I have to pull the trigger, he knows what the trigger is. We don't as the audience. We
Mhm.
find out at the end of the movie. But
Right.
between that scene and when he pulls the trigger, I don't feel like he exhausted everything he could. He doesn't feel
Right.
desperate. You know, at this point, he should feel desperate after like trying everything with the Aztec god, you know, killing the other demons, you know, sacrificing them, you know, playing the buff of opening a gate to hell so demons will overrun Los Angeles just to save his friends. Like, they all feel minuscule to what happens to Chaz at the very end of this movie, and it doesn't feel
And the
earned.
problem is, all of them felt selfish by nature in the moment. None of
Yeah.
them felt like they were working towards this greater goal. It felt self serving. It felt like Constantine going on a fucking power trip because he could. And that's not convincing me of why he had to do all of those things and why that was the only option.
Yeah.
Like you said, he didn't exhaust his options because I didn't see anything that looked like a legitimate, like, this is everything I have that I'm putting into this.
Yeah. It was strange. Of course, I mean, we're also talking about a movie that we only get to see him for an hour and a half. But I feel like you could have upped the stakes at some point to be like, to even multiple times telling Jazz, I am trying everything I can, mate, and I am not getting there. You know, like I am, well,
That
forever.
would involve like an ounce of humility from
Yeah.
this character that just doesn't exist.
Even if they showed him like being a dick towards Chaz because he's so frustrated in the moment of being like, because that would be like a natural Constantine thing, right? Him being an
Yeah.
absolute asshole to Chaz, walking away, getting drunk probably, and being like, fuck, I cannot figure this fucking thing out. He's frustrated with himself, not Chaz, but he lashes out
Hmm.
because he's an asshole.
Right.
Like there's so many right there. I've already written like a better way to get through this story, you know. Again, this
Yeah.
is Matt Ryan is doing the heavy lifting. He is not, you know, and I don't know what it is because I believe J.M. Demetrius is, you know, obviously he's written for him in the AMU before. I believe he's written for
Hmm.
comics as well. And again, the
I
comics are
have one
pretty,
right behind me.
yeah, dude. Oh yeah, yeah, yo, yeah. So yeah, dude's a good writer. So like I think he's written
For the audio
Constantine before.
listeners, I just held up a trade paperback of Death in the Family Robin Lives that has his name on the front.
Yeah.
Because
So
it's on
like
my nightstand to
this
read.
this dude, he's a good writer. So like I don't know where it falls. You know, something doesn't click with this version of Constantine, and I would be like it. I would like to do as a bonus episode to watch specifically that Keanu Reeves like Constantine movie to see what you think of it because that's again not a perfect movie. It's nowhere near what is a true John Constantine. You know, blonde hair, British, absolute bastard kind of way. But even like think of other characters that were inspired, right, by Constantine. You have Spike, right, from Buffy. You kind of see
Hmm.
it there, right? blonde, British, asshole, lovable asshole though. How many things does like Spike does?
I know literally one thing about that character.
Oh, that's the bad thing, isn't it? The one
Yeah.
thing that actor was like, I don't think Spike would do this, and that
Yeah,
douchebag
that's
Joss
the
Whedon be like,
only
he
point of
would,
reference I have for Spike.
and that
I hate
douchebag
to
Joss
break it
Whedon
to
be like,
you.
Daddy, he would do that. I know my characters. He's like, do you? Because Buffy, this wouldn't happen to Buffy either. All right, anyway. It's not a Buffy and shit on Joss Whedon podcast, though we could do one.
Mhm.
Well, I'm willing to do it.
But yeah, like to your point of like only having 90 minutes with this character, like we've had that times I guess we had like the 30-minute short and then
Mm,
another like 90-ish minute movie. Um and I still like I feel like I know nothing about him except for how much he irritates me. But this movie did manage to endear me to most of the characters in it, including some of the straight up villains. Like there was character development in this film that was done very well. There were some awesome characters that I absolutely fell in love with, regardless of like where they're at on the spectrum of like morality, right? So
yeah,
it's not like I have a problem with Constantine's like methods. I just don't feel like he was developed well as a character in this universe, and I feel like they were leaning way too heavily on people already caring about this character because like he was like the face of GC, especially in like television during this time. Like he was like one of the most like notable superhero characters in the mid 2010s,
yeah,
and the comics were very popular. I feel like they just didn't put any time in invested into really developing this character into somebody people could love because they were operating under the assumption that people already cared about him. And I feel
yeah.
like that was their fatal flaw.
Yeah, I believe that as well. And one of the other interesting things thinking about, right? So our first time covering John, especially in this universe, is that bonus episode again, and that's the end of his timeline.
Mhm.
And it's 30 minutes, so we don't get a lot of time with him, but it's fine, it's okay. And then our next time is a group effort where I think it's okay to have him be a little bit of this really surly asshole because then you're
This is
also,
like off of other
yeah,
people.
he's playing off as Zatanna, and then us knowing the history between Zatanna and Constantine, we can complain and have fun with it and be like, ah,
Mhm.
Z deserves better, all this other stuff. But you can have fun with that, and he has heroic moments in that, a lot of heroic moments with Etrigan and everything like that. He has a beautiful speech, that he delivers, and he teams up with Etrigan, even though like he kind of like messes with him in the beginning, like
Mhm.
he's more happy in that. Pardon me. He's portrayed more heroic in that. It's just it's just weird to see him in this, and they just double down on him just being a dick, and it's just sad. Again,
Mhm.
Matt Ryan does an incredible job. Everyone does an incredible
Yeah.
job with their performances, and if it wasn't for Matt Ryan, I don't think this would go a long way. And it's interesting to see that. I think there's some funny jokes, and as we can move on to some of our notes, but I one of he fucks a city. He
You want to
fucks.
talk about sentient cities?
Yes, let's talk
This
about
is like
sentient
my
city, because
favorite topic.
that was like one of the notes. I'm pretty sure like Slide mentioned something about sentient cities before, and the fact that he starts hooking up, like he hooks up with the
Uh-huh.
city of Los Angeles,
I
and it
really love when the
doesn't
old
feel weird.
black guy like makes out with him and then he's like not really into that.
But
And
only
she's
because he's
like, I'll
old.
choose a
Only
yeah,
because he's old. Because we established he's Polly.
you're a
He's like
little
what?
too old. Yeah.
Any port in any storm for John Constantine. It's just he's
Hmm.
old. That's what he's. If it was an old lady, he'd feel the same way. It's just the fact that he's old. Because if it was like a young black dude, he's like, oh yeah, it's down. Let's go hit that bathroom real quick.
So I love sentient cities. I think it's a fascinating
Yes.
concept, and I will make you read a sentient city fic in the near future. But you did ask in your notes if there
Mm-hmm.
were any fanfics of Constantine banging London as in the city.
Yes.
And I hate to break it to you, there are not.
That's so
There
weird.
are
She has
like
better standards.
5 fics, yeah, that had a sentient London in it. They were mostly either Sherlock, the BBC TV show,
Mm-hmm.
or Good Omens, which like kind of tracks for those two properties. Um, but there was one fucking absurd. Oh, there was one like romantic. I don't think it was sexual. I didn't read it. It is open on my phone. I can read it later. Um, a fanfic, but the romantic pairing was the sentient city of London slash Jack the Ripper. And that sounds incredible. I
All right.
can't wait to dive into that.
All right. From the jump, Jack the Ripper's the bottom.
Oh yeah,
That's why he's so angry.
definitely.
That's why he's so angry. He did the things he did. Um, he always wants to be top. The city won't allow him.
There were like a decent amount of fanfics for like this movie specifically though. I feel
Oh, I
like there
believe it.
were. Do I have it pulled up?
Because they probably see what we see
Um
and we're like, he could be
yeah.
more heroic.
There is 72 fanfics tagged with this movie as a fandom.
Hmm.
However, I believe there's only 14 if you exclude crossovers. So the only 14 of those 72 are
All right.
like actually about this movie.
Yeah, I do love that. But yeah, when he started hooking up with her, and I was like, is John gonna stop her? And
Mhm,
then he does it, and then they still go at it. And I was like, all right,
mhm.
well, this is weird to be watching this in public. And then and then it kept going,
She's
and
the
I was like,
city. No, she gets to decide who can see them. Like,
yeah. And then I was like, is John? My notes literally, did, is John fucking a city? I was like, seriously, only John Constantine would fuck a city. Like he did,
mhm,
and he's such. We talk about who is and who isn't a whore in a lot of these movies, and we're pretty pro sex positive in this podcast and MC University
yeah.
and Point of Progress in general. Gambit, a whore, full on.
Hmm.
Reform, he's married now. Don't get me wrong. He's a
Hmm.
married man. He's tied down. He doesn't live that life anymore. He was definitely a whore. John Constantine's a whore.
Hmm.
Maybe New 52, Dick Grayson, possibly.
A little
You
bit.
say a little bit of
He's
whore,
he's
hoe
I would say
face.
he's really slutty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He had a
Yeah,
hoe face.
yeah. Batman, definitely a hoe. Is that in your only criteria with that? You got to be a villain.
Uh, Batman is so interesting because like he's like so obviously somewhere on like the demi or ace spectrum in his like
Mm,
attraction, but he's like that doesn't preclude him from being a hoe. Like he's still a whore. He'll sleep around,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is like very interesting to me.
It is funny, but yeah, John did this. I'm like, that's John Constantine, ladies and gentlemen. Non-binary folk out there. That is our John Constantine, and that felt the most true to
Mhm.
character. That was like one of the times I was like having fun with the character. I was like, oh yeah, he would, and
Mhm.
especially in the middle of like,
And
hey, I
she's
gotta save.
hot.
She
Like
is hot. She's
can't
very hot.
can't judge him for that.
No, no, it felt it felt more earned for him to make the line the things I do for Gotham, similar to Nightwing with Harley. That line would have been better served in this movie, or like the things I do for this world, and then hook it up with a city.
Mhm.
Like that's John Constantine to a T. Um that it felt more. I did put here as well, speaking of horrors, the demon uh Belial calls Nightmare Nurse a whore. I'm like, first of all, No, we're not doing that here. That's not what we're
Hmm.
doing. You're a demon just like she is. Okay? Let's not do this. We don't slut shame here, okay? As we talk about John Constantine being a whore. We don't slut shame here, okay? There's a difference. Okay?
Yeah, just because she's scantily clad does not make her a whore.
Exactly.
Like she can wear whatever the fuck she wants in her like meat puppet suit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Let
that
her
doesn't
live. Leave her alone.
yeah, leave her alone. She doesn't deserve this. She doesn't she's trying to help people right now. She doesn't need to be she was having a threesome. She didn't even be here right now. John pushed her out of that, her little fun time. And now she's just like, all right, I'll look after this family for you. John Constantine, who's an asshole. Sure. No problem,
Hmm.
man. Um, I did put here, especially with the end of this movie. Um, John definitely robbed Peter to pay Paul with the demons, like using the Aztec god to then take out the demons and then take out the Aztec god is a very brilliant move on John Constantine's part. Let's give credit where credit's due in this. There's a lot of things that he does. You're like, yeah, it's very John Constantine. He gets out by the skin of his teeth. It's just again when you get to the ending, it doesn't feel earned. Even his ending, where he doesn't have his best friend anymore. He's utterly alone, other than maybe Zatanna in this universe. Like he's so alone. It's like, well, I don't know if I care, again, because of Matt Ryan, I care, but that's it. That's the only reason I care that he loses Chaz in this. Like it's
Yeah.
sad, but
I was more upset for Chaz
yeah,
than I was for
honestly, he's
John.
probably gonna start drinking again, right? I started thinking about Chaz more after I watched the movie. I was like, well, he was an alcoholic. He cleaned himself up because
Hmm.
he wanted to be there for his daughter. Now his daughter's in a fucking
Hmm.
coma because this demon wants to get
Hmm.
back at John Constantine. So it was like, let me hurt him this way. And of course, Chaz is
Hmm.
like, fuck, of course they want to hurt John this way.
Right.
I'm cleaned up. I'm trying to get my family back. This poor guy sees horrible shit in his life because of John Constantine.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, now he has no best friend, no wife, no kid, and probably now another alcohol addiction. And I don't, when the City of Angels, when she's like, oh, I'll take care of him, I was like, are you though?
Are you? No,
Because
I don't trust her to
I don't
take
trust
care
her.
of him
Yeah.
at all. No.
You can't trust her either. Even though she's like a sentient city, she's like, I watch out for my people and all this stuff. I'm like, do you know
Yeah,
how
but
many
it's
people are
Los
addicted to
Angeles.
drugs? Yeah, exactly. How much horrible shit happens in Los Angeles? Like, no, I don't think you're someone we could trust.
Yeah, like even Gotham, like she's trying her best. Like
Yeah,
there's the
she's
crazies.
fighting
Oh,
fires.
she's fighting fires and like she's doing her best to like look out for like the kids on the street and the drug addicts, but also like she is constantly on fire.
Yeah. She's
Clean water, never heard of her.
no, she's like putting out the fire on her shoulder while she's still burning on the left
Mhm.
side, like
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
exactly.
Um, there were a few like random jokes. I don't know why. There was a Young and the Restless joke, which got me since my mom that was like her favorite soap opera.
Hmm.
Um, what was there was another one. There was a Doctor Strange joke, but like a very like
Yeah, at the beginning with
macro.
the car, which
Yeah.
was so funny because like it was like very clearly taking like visual reference from the like car crash scene
Hmm.
of Doctor Strange to put a Doctor Strange joke in
It was
there
perfect. Yeah.
during that scene. I That was a good one. One of my favorite parts of this movie was in like Burrell's mansion where they do the whole silent film
Oh, dude, that was
moment.
cool.
That
That
was
was really
fucking
cool.
insane.
That was
That was
horrible
amazing.
torture, but at the same time, it's like what an inventive way to like bring in old Hollywood. He's been around for so
Yeah.
long too. You would think, right? Like he loves film. He loves. They show him tap dancing at one point, like in his weird meat suit.
Hmm.
Looks like a fucked up Oogie Boogie from Nightmare on Christmas. Oh
Yeah.
man, there were fun things in this
Um,
movie. It's just like when your focus again is this John Constantine is like, ugh.
and there was one absolute banger
Oh,
of a
I
line
see it. Yeah. Oh my god.
And it's not in our drama class, so I'm gonna do it in notes here.
Mhm.
It's when he's fighting the Aztec god, right after um the god takes out all the fucking demons for him and gets fucked up in the process. He's like, I can help you, like we can do this together. And fucking John Constantine, the man you are, derogatory, comes out with this banger ass line. There's nothing more pathetic than a god who begs.
Ugh. God
Okay,
damn.
I see you. Literally only that scene, but like, I see you.
Yeah, that was like a very earned scene in that. That was very like, yeah, we're fine here. Um, actually, before we move on to the one line from drama class, is there anything you want to touch base on with this, other
Yeah,
than
we need to talk about the tiny demons.
I love them. I thought they were so cute.
They were adorable. They were also horrific.
Yes.
Like the little monkey face John Constantine mini demons that like haunt his nightmares. But when they showed up after he opened the like fucking rift or whatever, I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all in on these little fuckers.
Yeah. I was thinking they felt similar to we at Point of Progress Love Evil Dead. They felt like the
Mm.
little mini ashes from Army of Darkness, that he conjures up by accident when he reads a wrong Necronomicon. So that's what it kind of reminded me. And then him like piling around at the end with one of them. It was like very funny. It was a very cute way to end the movie.
Hmm.
God, I love them.
I love a weird little dude.
And he was like, "Oh shit, you're survived." Like, he's so surprised that this thing fucking survived. He's like, "Oh shit, you're alive." Oh, okay. Fuck. What do I do? He's like, "I gotta take care of a kid now. What the fuck? What do I do with this thing?" It was very funny, very good.
He now has the dependent.
Yeah, he's like, "Fuck." He's like, "I thought I got rid of all my attachments because I'm not dating Zatanna and fucking Chaz is. I just got rid of my best friend." Oh man, it was funny. All right, moving on to drama class. Other than that amazing line as you mentioned earlier, again, I just pulled this from IMDb. We have here. Do you want to be Nergal or do you want to be John Constantine?
I'll be Nergal.
Okay.
Wait, I'll take you to her. Set her free. Redemption, John. After all these years.
Bugger off. And I do love that the context there is that John can Nergal is trying to release the girl that he unfortunately lost, which kind of puts him on this mission
The
of
freaky cult dude's
mhm,
daughter who Constantine fucked over trying to save her life because he was
yes,
an arrogant fuckwit that led to his like alcoholism and
hmm
horribleness.
yes, and he's paying for that his whole time, and he has a chance to bring her back, which is a ploy. You can tell clear as day is a ploy, and I'm glad
Right.
that John. That was the last time I worried about this in this movie. I was like watching. I'm like, tell me John's not gonna fucking like fucking Trish. Sorry, you lived a good life. I gotta fix my old mistake. I'll fix this mistake in another 10 years. It's like no, that's not how this
Jesus
works.
Christ. I would not
Um,
have been surprised if that's how it went, unfortunately.
that's the sad thing of how this movie set up. Again, Keanu Reeves, John Constantine, Matt Ryan, John Constantine, and Legends of Tomorrow. I wouldn't feel he would do this. You know, it's just
Mhm.
this specific version of John Constantine. I feel like, yeah, I think he would do something really horrible, and there may have been like 8 different ways to fix this beforehand before we got here. Uh, moving on, we're gonna go to Homeroom. Our final thoughts on this movie. Sly, uh, give us your glowing final thoughts on
I
Constantine's
mean,
City
like
of Demons.
Constantine, this one's fine. It's good. Again, like I said, every other character in this entire movie, gold star. They were great. I just couldn't fucking stand John throughout the entire thing. He was so insufferable and woe is me. and like simultaneously entitled pompous shit who's like so full of himself. And I'm like, you got to find the balance there. You can't also be like so cocky and like the best at what you do and so fucking pitiful.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't work for me. It might work for you. Like, no shade to anybody who loves this movie. If you enjoyed this movie, I'm so happy for you. It just did not hit for me. And I'm a little bit dreading when we get the second Justice League Dark. Because, again, I liked him ish last time he was
Hmm.
part of a team. But after this one, like, I don't know where they're going with him in the future, and that scares me.
Yeah. Um, I think for me, the shining point with this movie is we get more Matt Ryan as John Constantine. Again, if you don't know his history behind it, he got shafted because, of course, so many shows that weren't on the CW. Because CW, again, owned by Warner Brothers, or at least partially owned by Warner Brothers, was a home for a lot of DC properties. And it was easy to be like, hey, even if the ratings aren't great, they had to be horrible for us to get rid of a show, at least especially around this time. This show was on NBC. And they cast a relatively unknown, at least for US people, in Matt Ryan. And it lasted a season. We all loved it. They set so many little cool things up in the background. And then it almost got like the Firefly treatment where it was like NBC's like, here, we'll show you like 3 episodes. Cool. The other 7 you'll see on a random Saturday, and because we already canceled it. And it was such a shame because Matt Ryan is such a amazing John Constantine, especially in that show. Again, his performance in this and the rest of the DCAMU, and anytime he pops up, is phenomenal. He is John Constantine, um, for better or worse, you know. And in this, it sucks because it's worse. I found a lot
Mhm.
that I liked in this movie. Would I watch it again? No. I would watch Justice League Dark again, um, because he's not insufferable. I would watch, Legends of Tomorrow, that arc because of him and because he's really well done in it. I can't speak to, the end of this series, this end of the season, with Apocalypse War and how he's portrayed in that. Even House of Mystery, I mean, now seeing so much of him in this DCAMU, like and seeing his ending, like I would probably watch it one more time and just kind of drink it in, like what this is his ending. This is what happens to him. This kind of sucks, but you start to understand a little more why he tortures himself. But it's just a shame. There was I felt like there were some missed opportunities with this movie to play up some of the odds, maybe show some of the stakes where he is at this impasse. Because again, you established so early that hey, I have something I could do right now and we could be done with this. But if I do it, it's gonna be bad for everybody. So I'm gonna leave it to the
Mhm.
end, but I need to know if it gets that bad, Chaz, are you down? And Chaz from jump is like, I'm down. And at the end he
Because
reiterates it.
Chad thought he was gonna fucking kill him,
Yeah, not
not
this.
completely fucking decimate his entire fucking life.
Yeah. And I think this
Anyways,
ending, like I didn't feel too much heart, I didn't
hmm
feel too broken up. I'm like, there was more like of a, oh, that sucks. Not like, oh, this is devastating, and this more just spurred on, our topic for the Andrea Romano roundup. That's how I got this from, is from the ending. But I didn't feel any uber, emotional attachment to this ending. Like I didn't feel devastated by it. I was like, oh, you should feel
hmm
devastated by it. This is a
yeah,
Constantine
because
who,
it's
yeah, he,
objectively devastating.
yeah, and it should be devastating to not only Chaz, which is it's horrible for him. It is a fate worse than death, but then to also for John, he loses almost one
Mhm.
of his last tethers to the human world, and you
Yeah,
don't feel anything in that. You know, like John does the thing, and because he's like a grifter, he's all this other stuff, and he just happens to be really, really fucking good at magic. you know, that
Mhm.
he's that goddamn good at it. But he always sneaks his way out of these situations and last minute things that this should have been something like, okay, Chaz, are you down? And maybe him hesitate at the end, like, I don't know if I'm down though, and not for
Mhm.
Trisha's sake, but for like a selfish reason for his sake because he knows he's gonna lose Chaz.
Right.
Um, you don't get that. There's like little things that I'm thinking about speaking of when we're doing this, and again, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback when we're not in the writers' room. We don't have WB above us telling like, hey, baby, it has to be like this. I can't speak
Right.
to again what's going on in the writers' room, what's going on director wise. Um, if there's anybody in Warner Brothers telling these people, hey, it has to be this way. But in my head, I've come up with like a couple different things where you can show John struggling through this movie. Again, we have a scene where he's
Mhm.
completely drunk and he's upset and all this stuff. There should have been a cause and effect. He should have been frustrated and lashed out because he's an asshole. He's John Constantine. He is a piece of shit,
Right.
and he should have got drunk. But because he can't figure out how to get out of this situation, like he can't figure out how to save this one girl again, and that's not really harped upon. Like it's almost like life repeating itself. And he's like, I gotta get this right this time, for so many reasons. For Astra, for or I'm sorry, I believe that might be the girl's last name, the girl's name, for Chaz, for his wife or his former wife, for Trish herself, and for my sake
Mhm.
to make up for what I did, even a little bit. And you just, I don't feel anything at the end, you know. There's a little, oh, that kind of sucks, but again, that's partially due to Matt Ryan being an awesome actor. He's
Mhm.
really good at playing like sympathetic assholes. Like if you played Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and you seen him as Edward Kenway, like, oh, look at this drunken asshole. And then he's like, man, he's one of the best assassins in the Assassins, guild and all this stuff. He's a legend. Oh, I was like, oh, that's cool. That was a fun game to play, and that was my first exposure to him. He has a really good niche when it comes to lovable assholes, but this is not it, unfortunately. It sucks. I just
Yeah.
get more
I
disappointed.
think. Mhm. I think my final thoughts, like my final takeaway from this movie, is I'm really glad we watched House of Mystery when we did.
Yes.
Because if I had to watch that fresh after this, I feel like I would have disliked it immensely. And I quite enjoyed, like, it was fine. It wasn't for me, but like
Yeah.
I respected the artistry of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would have been so tainted by like how fucking fed up I am with this character in this universe that I would be much more negative on it if I was watching it for the first time at the end of the season.
Yeah. And I don't think, at the time, I don't think this is a well received movie. So I think,
Mm,
they kind of back up a little bit, but I think there's a reason for it. I think we need more Constantine. I think he's a very interesting character. Again, whether it be this rumored continuation, or finally getting a sequel to Francis Lawrence and Keanu Reeves, 2005, again, 20 years ago, we might get a sequel to this fucking movie. John Constantine, or would be even if they did like a solo, if James Gunn did a solo Constantine movie set in this world, you give me 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I'm sure you can give me something where I love him. He is a little bit of a dick, and maybe Matt Ryan or somebody plays him, and you get one more shot, and you can do something better than what we have here. Unfortunately, I hate talking so negatively about something just because so many people put so much
yeah.
work into this, and it's a gorgeous
Right.
looking animated film. I think that's good. I think a lot of the plot points are good. They just weren't executed well. And again, the cast is
Hmm.
really phenomenal. And again, they're just not given a material when it comes to this. This feels like you picked up a comic book and you're like, ah, man, this month sucked. You know,
Yeah,
hopefully next month's better.
exactly.
That's what
Ugh,
it felt like.
wasn't a fan of this issue,
Yeah,
but
exactly. Hopefully next
I'm
time.
I'm very confident that next week's issue will be much stronger
Yes, and
based on.
also I will say it doesn't help, and we mentioned this last week too, that this is in the middle of an ongoing story. This is like a little icebreaker in
Yeah.
between the death of Superman and then DC AMU's adaptation of the Reign of Superman storyline with our
Hmm.
introduction to some of my favorite characters of all time, Connor Kent, you know,
Hell yeah.
and John Henry Irons as Steel, the
Mhm.
Eradicator, and the Cyborg Superman. I think I can't wait to see how this goes. I've only seen clips, and only because I've went out of my way to see clips of my boy Connor Kent because I love Superboy so much. I got the tattoo, and I also just love Cameron Monaghan. I love like that dude is the guy playing Connor to me. He's so
Mhm.
perfect. He's a good Joker. I don't give a shit what you say about Gotham. He's pretty good. And you know,
I
we're
liked Gotham.
Gotham is like a lot of hit or miss because they play with the lore a lot, but once you get used to it, I think
Mhm.
they do some fun stuff. And he's cool
I
as
feel like you can't
Jeremiah
take it
or
very
Jerome.
seriously.
Yeah. No, you can't.
If you try to take it seriously, you're not gonna have a good time. But if you go into this saying this is a loose interpretation of every character and storyline they're doing here,
Every
every single one of them,
yeah.
and you just say, you know what, I'm here for silly, goofy vibes. You'll
Yeah.
have a great time. I
And,
love Gotham.
yeah, and Cameron Connor Monaghan, we'll talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about this more next week. Has like this very unique it factor when it comes to it. Like he can do drama,
Mhm.
he could do comedy, he could do absurd shit. Like if you've seen any clips from Shameless, like I have for whatever reason, Facebook just sends me clips of him and Mickey doing stuff, and I'm like, what are y'all trying to tell me? Facebook, are you trying to tell me something? Like, am I having
That
an
you should watch
awakening?
Shameless, I
Yeah,
guess.
apparently I should watch either Shameless or I'm having some kind of awakening. Not sure. But he also plays
Why
one of my
not both?
favorite. Yeah, why not? Could be both. One of my favorite Jedi and Cal Kestis in, the
Hmm.
Star Wars universe. So this dude's just super talented. So I can't wait to see him fully embrace one of my favorite characters in Connor Kent. But that's next week. That's your homework. Reign of Superman. Where's it streaming? Who fucking knows
We'll
again?
see.
We'll see next week. It might be that mythical island of Laugh Tale again. But before we go, Sly, where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere on the internet at MC. You won't find much right now, but that's okay.
Yeah, we're getting there. It's a little lull time, it's springtime. We're all trying to enjoy our lives. You can find me here at youtube.com/point in progress if you're watching the video content. If you're listening, your favorite podcast service of choice, don't forget, go over to the video version, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, all that jazz, comment down below. Video watchers, go to your audio service of choice, do the same thing. um Again, we have this MC University, which is the predecessor to this show. We're a spiritual successor to that show. Again, you can just jump into any universe. Of course, we're like season 3 is all about the DCAMU, but if you want to watch anything from season 1, we always just say watch the movie beforehand so you can kind of enjoy the conversation along with us. Um,
You say that. I say the direct opposite.
you just listen to the episode and then watch the movie. Um,
Yeah,
it's like
if you
very
want.
Mystery Science 3 Theater 3000 with us. Uh,
Exactly.
and then here, yeah, we have I mentioned this past couple weeks. I'm really proud of what we did. Me, Frank, and Fee got to review an early copy of the first 2 episodes of Terabytes, a horror gaming documentary series that should be coming out. I believe the campaign is finishing up this month, so it should be coming out soon. It's a 5-episode series. We've got to see the first 2 pre-production versions. They're great. I know, we have an affiliate link that's listed down below those episodes and everything, all that. But honestly, they're really just goddamn good episodes, especially if you love gaming and horror gaming in general and finding out more of the history behind it. We have a really cool discussion. It's a long episode, but it's well worth it. And then as well, we have It's Not a Loop, it's my Remedyverse playthrough series here at Point of Progress. Season 1 and season 2 are already done, so It's Not a Loop. It's a spiral which adapts Alan Wake remastered and Alan Wake American Nightmare. And then It's Not a Loop. It's a Quantum Break, which of course the title, I played Quantum Break in that one. We're gearing up for season 3, which is Not a Loop. It's Control. I'll be playing through Control and its DLC. And then again, another little break, and then finally wrapping up that series with It's Not a Loop. It's a Spiral Book 2, which will be Alan Wake 2 and its DLC. But that's gonna be spread out over a little while. Now that I've got, again, some other games under my belt before I do games for work. Play games for fun. Now it's games for work time. And then yeah, if you want to hear me just talk about latest breaking news and stuff, check out my thoughts on like the Switch launch, video and the details for that. You can check out youtube.com/nerdaday, or Nerdaday podcast on your audio source of choice. But till next time, class is dismissed.
Bye.